And welcome back, 25th of May, higher plus 5 a day. Let's go to the first question. Right, what do we have here? So it's a straightforward index rule question, isn't it? So it's basically saying what does the minus do, what does the 5 do, and what does the 2 do? And we can actually write it all as one. So the minus means 1 over, or reciprocal. The 2 is actually half, so that means square root. And the 5 means to the power of 5. So we can do these things individually, but there's normally a better way of doing it, or a quicker way of doing it. So I'm going to do the square root first. So the square root of a quarter is a half. And then a half to the 5 is the same as 1 over 32. Now, it probably will say in your exam how to leave the answer, but in this case, 1 over 32 is fine. Next one, show using algebra. So this is one of these things that we teach quite early in my school. I'm not sure when different schools do it at different times, but the way that we do it is we say let x equal to the thing that we're trying to put as a fraction. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to recognize there are 2 dots here. So I'm going to multiply by 2 zeros, in other words, 100. And so that's going to give me, well, move it across 2 places is 102, spot 424, where the 2 4s are again repeating. And of course, the point now is, if I take these things away, then 100x minus 1x is going to give me 99x. But crucially, 102.424 recurring minus 1.024 recurring, the 24 recurring goes away. So therefore I've got 102.4 minus 1, which is going to give me 101.4. And then I can divide it out. Let's put the minus here because it doesn't look like a minus. So therefore x equals 101.4 over 99. Problem is, I can't leave it like that because it's a fraction that has a decimal in, and that's not allowed. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 10, which is going to give me 1014 over 990. Now, if this is a calculator exam, you need to show clearly what you're doing to get from 990 to 165, which in this case is just to divide by 6. So again, if it was a non-calculator, and it is a show that question, so I need to be clear what I'm doing. So I would actually write here divide by 6. So that's going to give me 169 over 165. And I can simplify that down to 1 and 4 165ths. I've shown the steps along the way. Now, again, to be clear, show using algebra means the question wants you to show the working. Either way, question done. Next question. So this is just a straightforward technique, isn't it? So I'm going to notice the denominator has a root 2 and a plus or a minus. So I'm going to change the minus to a plus. I'm going to multiply the top by that as well. So then I'm effectively multiplying by 1. Expand very carefully. So 2 times root 2 is 2 root 2. 2 times 1 is 2. Minus root 3 times root 2 is minus root 3 times root 2 is root 6. And minus root 3 times 1 is minus root 3. So this isn't going to be super neat, is it? I'm going to divide that by, well, it's difference of 2 squares. So root 2 times root 2 is 2. And 1 times 1 is minus 1. So in other words, well, there's lots of ways of writing this, but some version of 2 root 2 plus 2 minus root 6 minus root 3. And that is my final answer. Next question, I think final one today. Which has the greatest area, triangle OAB or sector ODC? Okay, I thought I was going to say a really obvious question then, but actually it's not, is it? So one is a triangle and one is a sector. So I'm just going to work them out and show the difference. Now, I can't do this, can I? Because I don't know what the radius is. So actually, first step is I'm going to have to use, what should I do? Oh, actually, of course, this is an isosceles triangle, isn't it? So it's an isosceles triangle. If this is 20, this is 180 minus 20, which is 160, divide by 2, which gives me 80. I'm finding it difficult to spot what to do there to start, which means I can use the sine rule to work out the radius, which of course I'm going to need, come back, which of course I'm going to need here and here. So in other words, my x or r, whatever I want to call it, is my radius. So sine rule for the triangle at the top tells me that x over sine, well, either x will do, and it's either 80 will do. So x over sine 80 is equal to 6 over sine 20, which means that x is equal to, we'll bring the sine 80 up, so 6 sine 80 over sine 20. Calculator out, and that is approximately, now I'm going to use quite a few decimal places here, so 6 sine 80 divided by sine of 20, and that tells me 17.27631145. I don't need to use too many, but I do want to use a few, so I'm going to call 17.2763. which gives me at least 6 significant figures of accuracy. So that seems quite good. Now, what am I trying to do? I need the area of the triangle. So I'm just going to put triangle so it's clear to the examiner what I'm doing, which is going to be a half times 17.2763 times 17.2763, in other words, squared, times by sine of 20. And the area of the sector, so I'm going to draw a rough sector so it's obvious what I'm doing, is going to be, well, it's 14/3/60 of a circle, which is pi times 17.2763 squared. Now you'll notice I'm doing 17.2763 squared twice, so I could make an argument that I don't need that bit, but I'm going to do it anyway just to show both areas clearly. So the area of the triangle is 51.0. And you'll notice I'm not doing many decimal places here because I'm going to assume that the areas are quite different and one is clearly bigger than the other one. The area of the sector is, and indeed they're quite different, so 36.5. Now answer the question. So I'm just going to be really clear. So 51.0 is bigger than 36.5, therefore triangle is bigger. Clear argument, clear conclusion, questions done for today. And that's today done. Good mix of questions to get today. Some of these we haven't seen before, some of these just textbook questions, but as ever, that's why we do this. Just practice questions again and again and again. Let me know how they went for you. Do like, subscribe. See you tomorrow.